Friday, 12/6 is the date for the governance vote on pDAI, the acceptance for the collateralization vote to bond all of the coins. Last we checked, I don't know that we need to look at it again. If you want to pull it up, Ewok, you're more than welcome. But last we checked, it was unanimously in favor of doing this. I think it was, thousands of vote yes and 0 no.
Do you remember the name of that site again?
I don't. And I forget, was it from Decentralize Me where we got it? I forget where I got it on Twitter. Shit. I know you had it.
Yeah, and I didn't save it because it was so unanimous that I don't. PulseChain vote maybe, or Pulse.
Here it is. Here, pulsemaker.win. Is that it?
That sounds right.
Yep, yeah. That's it. You got it?
I got it.
Okay. Yeah, so you can essentially go to this thing and connect your wallet, do your due diligence, of course, with anything like that, but connect your wallet to vote on the proposition. I'm trying to see where the actual results are on here. Okay, you got it, it looks like. Is that some no's we have there now? Or abstain. Okay.
0.23 maker voted. So it's still 0 basically, but there was a very, very small that said no. 666.67 P makers voted to abstain, which
it's interesting.
Why? But, and then you've got 85% of the vote saying yes.
Yep. So obviously it looks like this is going to be a pass on the group voting part of this. Now, the way that these things work, though, is the 6th is the deadline for that. So obviously if we get a yes on this, then it goes on to like the executive vote thing where whoever is in control of that would then decide whether to go through with it or not. And I don't believe there is a deadline on that entity to vote. I think that could be something that's done immediately if they so choose, or they could piss around and wait and shake people out potentially, or they could vote no, which would be a huge, it would freak people out. I don't think that it would change the narrative necessarily or change what's going on, but it would probably freak people out.
Well, there's always somebody that's trying to shake out weak hands. So it is interesting here that, you've got the active poll and then there is the executive too. So, this is new to me. When you told me that earlier, I had no idea that was part of I didn't really look into how the proposals work and how the votes, just something I was never really that familiar with. But I guess once this completes, then it goes into the executive and just kind of sits here, right? Is that what you're thinking?
I believe so. And like I said to you earlier, that's why so many people shit on things that are just governance tokens and that's all their use case is, because it's like, okay, so you vote on a proposition and then they could just say no, like even if you vote in favor of it. But this is going to be...
Do you get your tokens back after you voted, or are they gone?
I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know.
Just curious. It may stop people from voting if you're not getting your tokens back. Interesting.
Yeah. Because I know, that's all that Uniswap is good for example, with their token. But it does look like this will pass in terms of that, but then it's a matter of what that entity does after. And then in addition to this, like as far as any kind of potential clues leading up, and there's like all kinds of drama about this on Twitter and whether it is, whether it isn't, and people are, angry at each other. But just yesterday, we saw a Mega Whale wallet vote on the proposal in favor of it. And then you can put a comment whenever you vote, and they said in it for the glory and love. And that wallet has a bunch of like tokens in the amount of 5555. It has sent extremely large bags of Hex and I believe other tokens as well. People speculating, could this be RH? Is it somebody that works with him or something in some way, or related to him in some way? What do you make of the potential that it could be him? That quote does definitely sound like something he literally has said. which doesn't mean it was him
Right.
necessarily. But what do you think of the potential that it could be him? And just, I don't know if you've seen any of the reactions from people, but there's some interesting stuff out there. So what do you make of that?
Well, I mean, it could be, but there, like you said, there's a bunch of other tokens that I'm not sure he would hold at the same time. So it's really hard to say. People know what Richard says; they've been listening to him forever. Very, very difficult to say. But there's always that possibility that it is. And again, I can't make anything out of it until we know for sure. Until we hear him say something, it's going to remain speculations. I mean, you do have a lot of people that are digging in deep, down so many rabbit holes. But
Yeah.
Again, until we see clarity, until that main wallet or whatever passes it or puts it through, it's all speculation. So I want people to not misunderstand what we're saying and just be very careful. We're not saying ape into this by any means, but
I'm not even saying buy it at all, actually.
yeah.
I mean,
So,
what like thinking that this narrative is real and that it's going to happen versus buying or telling somebody to buy pDAI, I think are two completely different conversations.
well, I just wanted to make it clear.
Well, I wanted to make it clearer.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's good.
Anyway.
So yeah, again, it's complete speculation. I do agree. Normally, I don't agree with wall to wall TV here, but
the watch is Lex Friedman part made me laugh. I don't know. That's funny. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, he put the love thing at the end, and I that kind of threw me off a little bit. If it just said I'm in it for the glory, I probably would have thought it was him more, but someone took the line out of the movie and he said, I'm in it for the glory. I just want to be loved. So I think somebody took, it leads me to believe it's not really him. So
a mid-level whale that watches Lex Friedman.
Yeah.
Wall-to-wall TV. Maybe we will get along because
that was a good one.
And I don't have a problem with Lex Friedman, but I think I know where you're coming from. It's kind of funny. But yeah, whether it is or isn't, I don't think matters at all, really. But just the thing is, grouping whether that's him or not, and people arguing about that in with arguing about the whole rest of the narrative, like people that are like, you guys are just making a lot of jumps here, when there's a lot of data and a lot of things on chain that I think highly point in favor that this is what's going on at this point, and here's the beautiful thing. If you're doubting it or don't believe in it or think that pDAI is a useless meme speculation or something, and then you're wrong, guess what? You still benefit hugely. So it's kind of a win-win, really. So yeah, you get to be wrong and right kind of at the end of the day. So that's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
Sure. Along with that, I guess we kind of talked about I guess here's my question. So if it goes on to the executive vote and we do get, well, let's say within 3 days or by the start of next week, we do get an approval on it. How quickly do you think things move? Because that would be all out, confirmation that this is what's going on. I think at this point, what else would be needed? What else would be needed that this is exactly what's happening with proof at that point,
Well, if it goes through both levels, if it goes through this and then the executive puts it right through, you're absolutely right. I think that speaks volumes and it is what it is. And at that point, I think you start to see a massive takeoff. I think that's enough catalyst just to send it. But yeah, I mean, but if it doesn't, again, Richard is a chess player and he's always thinking ahead. Would he wait? Would he just let it sit there for a while until he's ready? There's other speculations that he may have a completely different stable coin, that he may use this stuff to kind of tie to that. I don't know. I do know the whole USDC thing was the PUSDC was quite confusing.
Push
There's
DC.
yes, that
Yeah.
it was confusing to see how it was like it's still used as collateral, but not as a true backing. If you follow Nine Iron Capital, they go through. I'm just going to pull it up because
which everybody should, yeah. At Nine Iron Capital, and I like Decentralize Me as well. They're both really good.
they're both really good. So here is the tweet, and it's like a 10-parter, but it goes down the rabbit hole where he claims that his post about PUSDC was wrong. And it goes on. I'm not going to read through it, obviously.
It's a lot. Yeah.
There's a lot to digest here. There's a lot of very, very technical things on how the mechanism actually can work, what it uses to collateralize, what it uses in the initial state, the 4 different tokens of how things are used as far as the token, the collateral, the over collateralization, and then the emergency. So it's a good read. It's a lot to take in, but very, very informative. And the more I read, the more I get confused. I feel like sometimes some things make more sense and then others make less. Like my initial thought was, wouldn't you want the PUSDC to be pretty much pegged to pDAI so that when it did peg, there was actually that amount of collateral there. But apparently that's not the case. So anyway, there's a lot of things here that the debt ceiling for PUSDC was set to 0 in the collateral vaults. And it goes on to tell you why that's important. So again, read through that tweet, follow Nine Iron Capital if you're interested in this stuff. Again, I'm not going to read it word for word, but there's a lot of good information in there.
Well, and also just the fact that you were kind of illustrating there is that pDAI isn't actually going to be the stable coin. It's going to be some other stable coin that in part backs. So it getting to $1, I think, is one of the steps, but then there's actually going to be some unique to PulseChain different stable coin that is backed by all of these things.